McLaren and Ferrari are hot on their heels, but this year's world champion will be driving either a Red Bull or a Brawn. They're the cars that have turned F1's formbook on its head, but they each have pros and cons that will be changing the balance of power for the rest of the season. Red Bull gives good grip in high-speed corners. It's a classic Adrian Newey car in that sense, so the RB5 should have the edge here at Spa, at Singapore and at Suzuka in Japan. Any wet race is also good for Red Bull due to them generating heat quickly into their tyres.
The suspension, especially the rear suspension layout, is particularly different with the bull rod that hasn't been seen in Formula 1 for probably over 20 years, which allowed them to sculpt the rear end of the car quite aggressively.
By contrast, Red Bull may suffer at Monza, a track that demands good mechanical grip. They also have a Renault engine that's proved unreliable and is limiting Sebastian Vettel's track time. Red Bull have also lost out to McLaren and Ferrari at the race starts.
The Kerr's cars, as they've got themselves sorted out, is a weakness to us, and especially on a first lap, as we've seen on numerous occasions on the run down to the first corner.
The Brawn has mechanical grip to spare, so they'll be strong at Monza and on the infield of Brazil. The Mercedes engine is drivable and reliable, while the drivers can overtake on the brakes. Brawn also gain downforce from their diffuser and suffer less tyre degradation in the hot races.
I think it's just this question of balancing aero performance against mechanical compromise, and we're at a slightly different position than Red Bull. And when you go to a track like Valencia, which is braking, acceleration, slow quarter performance, clearly we had an advantage. You come here, which is all high-speed stuff, they seem to have an advantage.
Brawn think they've solved their tyre warm-up problems, but can't be sure until we get to less abrasive tracks. Compared to Red Bull, they struggle over one lap and have trouble arriving at the perfect setup straight away. The Brawn was also compromised by its late switch to the Mercedes engine.
It's forgotten in a sort of mist of time, but we had to put a Mercedes engine into this car very much last minute, and there were things that were not right. The exhaust system layout's not what we want. There's other things that have hindered the aero package, and they'll be solved for next year.
So on paper, Spa, Suzuka and Singapore should favour Red Bull, while Monza and Sao Paulo should play to the Brawn's strengths as they defend their championship lead. It's to Jenson Button's relief that the Brawn isn't suffering too badly in the chilly Belgian climate.
We definitely don't have tyre temperature issues. They're actually very warm here. I think it's quite an abrasive asphalt, so we don't have any issues with that here.
It's a totally different track layout, mate. Track temperature, track layout, it's much more flowing here. Valencia's a Tesco's car park, we know that, so our car doesn't really like it.
We're not on the pace of the Red Bulls, especially over one lap. I think our long runs are okay. But a lot of people are struggling here, I think, on their long runs with overheating more than the tyres being too cool.
On balance, the 6 races are going to be pretty even. There's going to be a few for Red Bull and a few for us.
Every race weekend now is almost like an FA Cup final for us. We've got to go, really go for it. We've got to go for wins, and we've got to almost throw caution to the wind in the remaining 6 races. If we can take the fight into Abu Dhabi, I'll be, quite happy with that.
Well,